We're entering week 18 of the NFL season, and with a 6-10 record, the Seahawks are obviously out of playoff contention. Given what happened last year, quarterback Russell Wilson's agent went to ESPN's Adam Schefter and said that Wilson would waive his no-trade clause to be traded to 4 teams. Those 4 teams are the Dallas Cowboys, Chicago Bears, Las Vegas Raiders, and New Orleans Saints. Obviously, the Cowboys and Bears have figured out their quarterback situation at this point, but Wilson was recently asked by Seattle reporters if he sees himself in a Seahawks uniform in 2022. He said that his goal is to win many Super Bowls, and his plan is to do it in Seattle. I asked a source recently, do you think that Russell Wilson forces his way out of Seattle and gets traded from the Seahawks this offseason? The source said something pretty interesting. He said that he didn't think that Russell Wilson necessarily would have to force his way out of Seattle, that the Seahawks could be looking for a change there as well. But Brad, I'll turn this to you. If Russell Wilson does get traded by the Seahawks, what would be the cap implications of that?
Yeah, so this is a scenario where the contracts were interesting and perhaps told us something last offseason, because the Seattle Seahawks made it so that when they do, if they do trade Russell Wilson away, they didn't take on any additional or excess salary cap that would penalize them next year. So an acquiring team would be on the hook for a 2-year, $51 million contract, which is frankly nothing when you consider over the last 5 seasons, Russell Wilson is 3rd in PFF wins above replacement, generates about 3 wins by himself per season, and that average includes this 2021 year in which he missed a handful of games. So you mentioned that list. I think the New Orleans Saints are interesting, and perhaps other clubs. You mentioned Las Vegas Raiders as well, maybe a swap with Derek Carr, or maybe even go a bit younger, get Russell Wilson in the Big Apple, which it sounds like maybe his wife Sierra wants, and maybe swap with Daniel Jones.
Yeah, certainly a big market team would probably be, interesting or appealing to Russell Wilson. But I know that, Seahawks fans have probably been bracing for this ever since last offseason, but that wouldn't make a divorce any easier for them. Ari, what can you tell us about, that and how they might want to maneuver this if Russell Wilson and the Seahawks do part ways this offseason?
Yeah, those comments with Russell Wilson was very interesting, but you got to think of it this way. I mean, the simplest way of looking at it is that Russell Wilson last year, when the Seahawks were winning and won the division, he wanted out. This year was the first year he ever had a losing season. Why would he want to stay? And the thing about Russell Wilson is that he is as image cautious as anybody in the NFL. He doesn't want to be the guy who forces his way out of Seattle. He wants to basically be the guy that Matthew Stafford was in Seattle, where there's a mutual parting of ways. And then eventually, when his career is over, he gets to go back to Seattle, have his number retired, goes in the Ring of Honor. Everyone is still cheering for him. Everyone still loves him. So yes, there could be a scenario after the year where it will require an end-of-season meeting with all the sides involved. Let's hear each other out, and we'll figure something out here as the offseason begins. The thing about Seattle that's important to note is the way their front office is structured. Pete Carroll is their head coach, but he's also the executive vice president of football operations, and he is the one who makes the final call on all roster decisions, not John Schneider, who is the general manager. Now, they're both working together, but if there's ever a disagreement between the two guys, and that includes draft picks, which Seattle has not done a great job of over the last several years, the person signing off is Pete Carroll. And if Pete Carroll is the one who is signing off, the question really becomes if Pete Carroll would ever want to trade Russell Wilson. Remember, Pete Carroll is 70 years old. He is the oldest head coach in the NFL. He might not look like he's 70, but that's how old he is right now. And if Russell Wilson, let's continue with this. If Pete Carroll even stays as the head coach, that's another thing that's important to note over here, because that is another big topic. If he does end up staying, then he doesn't want to rebuild with a younger quarterback. He doesn't want somebody else walking in and trying to win in a very, very tough division. So when you look at that roster and you look at the fact that they don't have a first-round pick this year, there aren't many quarterbacks out there who Pete Carroll can get into the building and help them win that division. So that's another part that we have to look at over here.
Yeah, it's easy to say that they could, trade Russell Wilson to the Raiders or the Giants and get Derek Carr or Daniel Jones back. But if he got dealt to a team like the New Orleans Saints or even the Denver Broncos, that quarterback might not be coming back. So they would definitely need to figure out what they were going to do under center in 2022.